Critter Cove, in my own personal opinion, truly has the potential to be better than Animal Crossing. And if you're a fan of Animal Crossing, please don't get offended by that statement, but rather get excited by it, because I think you're going to absolutely love Critter Cove. Let me explain. First off, if you've never heard of Critter Cove before, I don't blame you. It's a work-in-progress game that hasn't been marketed too heavily yet. It's not an early access, it hasn't been on Kickstarter, none of that. Critter Cove, put simply, is similar to Animal Crossing in a lot of ways, but set on the high seas and is also taking some inspiration from games like My Time at Portia and The Sims. The main goal is to restore the town of Critter Cove back to its former glory and recruit a bunch of critters to come live there. But my goodness, does that description not do it justice. Unlike Animal Crossing, it's not set in real time, meaning you can play as much or as little as you want and aren't required to play once every single day. It's a true 3D game and has so much to do with it. The game is still a ways off from being complete, but for a game that's nowhere near done, holy crap is it fun. I'm fortunate to be one of the lucky few who have gotten their paws on an exclusive demo of the game, and while it's still full of bugs and has a long way to go, it has so many good things going for it. It's currently a single-player only title, but they've started playing with the idea of co-op at some point down the line, and as for which consoles it will be releasing on, it's a bit too early to tell. You've all seen the title, and I'm sure I've triggered plenty of people just by even asking that question. Could this be better than Animal Crossing? Don't get me wrong, I loved Animal Crossing as a kid. I played entirely too much of it on GameCube, waking up early to sneak in 30 minutes before school, with the volume turned way down so that my parents wouldn't hear, just so I could hit my money rocks, dig up my dig spots for the day, and do some other daily tasks. And of course, visiting KK Slider was a Saturday evening requirement, almost religiously so. I'm sure plenty of you can relate. But as an adult, I can't commit to putting in an hour or more a day into a single game anymore. I bought New Horizons and a Switch just for that game, played it for a few months, and then stopped playing altogether because it started to stress me out more than I was actually having fun with it. I simply don't have the time anymore to play like that, and for me, it isn't as fun as it used to be to do the same set of repetitive tasks each day just so that I can decorate my home and the island as well. When I do have time to casually game, though, it's usually for more than a few hours at a time, and for me, there's just not enough to do in Animal Crossing to hold my interest for that long. I realize not everyone shares that sentiment, but to me, that is where Critter Cove shines. First, if your initial thoughts are, this game looks like it's meant for children, think again, because that's what I thought too, at first. The banter between you and the critters of the island is amazing, and just like any good children's movie, it has something for the adults too, like innuendo and other not-so-obvious humor hidden within. It also has a tavern where you can enjoy certain beverages, and berries you can eat to go on a trip. And no, I'm not talking about traveling. This game also has one of the most robust and extensive character creators I've ever seen. In Animal Crossing, you play as a human in a world of animals. In Critter Cove, you could do that as well, or you could play as an animal yourself. If you want to be a human, go for it. A cat? Why not? Fox? Yup. Lemur? Bearded dragon? Wolf? Beaver? Bird? Dragon? Yes, to all of the above. That's not even half of the current critter options, and they're adding more. There's plenty of hair options, back accessories, horns, sliders for your body mass and weight, and an entire color wheel to determine your skin color, as well as non-binary gender options. All of this can be mixed and matched to create whatever sort of monstrosity your heart desires. Or you can take your time and design a character that actually looks believable. Human, animal, or something to give Frankenstein a run for his money, the choice is yours. In Critter Cove, you will have the chance to meet and befriend the critters, or NPCs, of the town. There are only a handful in the demo of the game right now, but they plan to have at least 20 different critters, all of which you'll be able to recruit to come live and work in the town. In typical Animal Crossing fashion, you can expect to both give and receive gifts from the critters, including things like clothing, furniture, and even blueprints, which you can then read to learn how to craft various things. For clothing, they've gone so far as to model each item of clothing so that it works with all the different body shapes, sizes, and species, so you can be sure that if you find a hat you like, for example, it'll look just as good on a human as it will a dragon. You can find clothing out in the world as well as receive it from critters and purchase it, and there will be different clothing sets that you can collect to dress up from head to toe in a thematic costume, like that of a pirate, for example, if you choose to do so. For furniture, you can also find it in the world, receive it from critters, and build it yourself. With it, you can not only decorate your cabin, but the entire island as well. And if you're someone who likes to build on a grid system, you can do that. But if you prefer the freedom to put things wherever and however you want, at pretty much any angle and position, they've got you covered there as well. In your cabin, you'll also be able to change the color and style of your flooring, walls, and even the beams on the ceiling. When it comes to crafting, it's going to be extensive and include a bulk crafting option. Just saying. You'll have to scour the islands, that's right, I said islands, as in plural, for resources, some of which will be unique to each island. You'll also need to discover the blueprints for how to create various items, some of which can be found in the world, some will be given to you by the critters, and others can be found by salvaging materials. For example, break down enough crates and you too will learn how to craft a crate. You can then bring the materials you find from all over the various islands back to your workshop in Critter Cove, where you can build a bunch of different machines, sort of like how it works in my time at Portia. A forge for smelting, a kiln for making bricks, a cutter for making planks, a general workbench for, well, general things, and many more. This is how you'll go about making furniture for your home and processed goods to repair things around the island, such as shops and homes for the critters. Speaking of, let's talk about a few of the shops and critters' homes, starting with the homes. There are various buildings around town that are set aside for critter housing. The various critters will ask for your opinion on whether or not they should move into a particular building or not, and depending on your input, they may or may not move in. Until they decide to move in, they will reside at one of the 2 tents on the island, meaning you can only have 2 homeless critters on your island at a time. Once they decide to move in, you'll need to help provide them with some of the building materials and then wait a little bit for them to build their home. After a few days, their home will be complete and you can then visit them while they're inside. As for shops, in the demo I got to play, there were 4 to start. A general store, a cafe, a tavern, and a clothing shop. The general store, also known as Renard's, starts out as a simple little stall, but over time can be upgraded to a full-blown store where you can buy flooring, beams, and walls for your cabin, tools and tool upgrades, clothing, and many other items. Black Whisker's Cafe is run by a critter named Pokey, a bearded dragon who has one heck of a sassy personality, and is dressed up as a coffee bean. You can stop by and grab a cup of coffee, a pastry, or whatever the daily special happens to be. You can also hop over the counter like a hooligan, if you choose to do so. The tavern is run by a wolf named Hugo and features a jukebox, fireplace, tables and chairs, bar, and even a stage for your very own open mic nights. I know in this footage here there's literally no one in here minus Hugo, the barkeep, but you can expect the place to be a bit more lively later on in development. And lastly is the clothing shop, which is probably my favorite of the current shops. It's run by Olivia the Parrot and is where you'll be able to purchase a wide variety of clothing ranging from footwear to shorts, tops, hats, swimwear, accessories, and more. And while this feature is still being discussed amongst the devs and is by no means confirmed, there have been discussions about letting you design your own patterns and or dye clothing, similar to how it works in Animal Crossing, I would guess. Adding this level of customization to the clothing would only be fitting in a game where you already have such a high level of customization on your character. That's just my opinion though. Now, one thing I failed to mention on purpose is that while Pokey, Hugo, and Olivia are the owners of these shops in my game, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will be in yours. That's right, part of the game's main gameplay loop is finding critters out in the world, be that on other islands or stranded on the water on some floating wreckage or something, and bringing them back to the main island of Critter Cove. Once there, they'll need a home, which you get to help them pick out and build, but once that's done, they'll need something to do, otherwise they'd go crazy with boredom, and that's where assigning them jobs comes in. You can assign critters to different jobs, such as cafe, clothing shop, or tavern worker, and depending on the critter and the job assigned, they'll either love it or hate it. And how much they like their job doesn't only affect their dialogue, which can honestly be pretty dang funny if they hate their job, but it also affects their needs. Much like The Sims, your critters will have 7 different needs that you'll have to pay attention to: energy, hunger, fun, social, health, swag, and finances. How these affect the game and what you as a player do are pretty fascinating, if you ask me. Let's take hunger, for example. If a critter's hunger need gets too low, they'll give you a quest to go find and fetch them some food, perhaps even cook them some food, because yes, there's a cooking system in the game with all kinds of different recipes for you to discover. So far, me and my master chef level cooking skills have only discovered how to make slop. Tasty, I know. As you can imagine though, over time, as your town gets bigger and bigger with more and more critters coming to live there, this would get pretty old pretty fast, having to fetch everyone food constantly. That's where building a cafe comes in. Instead of asking you for food, they'll go to the cafe instead and purchase food to eat, effectively automating the hunger need for your critters. Now, let's say the critter running the cafe, in our case that's Pokey, is unhappy due to their swag need not being met because you haven't given them the new clothing or furniture that they ask for. If they're unhappy enough, they could even refuse to go to work, resulting in the cafe being shut down until their needs are met, in turn lowering everyone else's hunger need until they're all upset as well. It's definitely a balancing game, and one that sounds like it will be a whole lot of fun to play. Building different items around the island and unlocking other buildings will all contribute to helping meet the critters' various needs, and there's even a chance that they will get bored with them over time, meaning you'll need to change things up to keep everyone happy. In addition, the tavern will help with people's social needs, building fitness equipment around the island will help with their health needs, and building fun items such as a seesaw, for example, can help with their fun need. The possibilities are plentiful. That's enough talk of the main island for now, though. Exploration is also a huge focus of Critter Cove, and not just on land. Not only are there treasure maps, metal detectors, and hidden stone paintings that teach you crucial crafting blueprints for you to find, you can also dive underwater to explore sunken ships, heck, even entire sunken cities, harvesting resources and discovering secrets while you're down there. The underwater environment is already filled with lots of plants and sea life, but they're planning on adding even more to flush out the ocean, as well as many more points of interest to explore. They want to give you just as much of a reason to spend your time underwater as on land. But of course, you can't breathe forever while underwater and will have to surface eventually, slowing down and limiting your exploration capabilities significantly. To start. As you progress through the game, you can unlock items such as flippers to swim faster, a diving suit to breathe longer, and even a diving bell to get you down to the depths of the ocean much faster than if you were to try and swim. There will even be different biomes while underwater, such as this toxic area with bioluminescent plants and animals. It honestly gives me some Subnautica vibes, just without the sheer terror and jump scares. Now, while this game may be a peaceful-looking game, that doesn't mean that the ocean will be without its challenges. I'm not talking about scary Subnautica-like creatures or anything, but obstacles to overcome and dangers to avoid. Not every shipwreck or sunken city you come across will be able to just be swam right into and explored. You might need to break into them using a tool you already have, or acquire a special tool like a blowtorch or explosive of some kind to be able to gain access. And hazards like toxic corals or stinging jellyfish might make their way into the game as well, which would slowly lower your health over time after being touched. So using caution while exploring would be advisable. In addition to the various biomes underwater, there will also be different biomes above water. Each island will already be completely unique, but some will have their own unique biomes as well, such as this incredibly colorful mushroom island that you can bet will be the exclusive home to some resources needed to build a few unique items, perhaps such as a mushroom-themed furniture set. Just throwing that out there. It's stuff like this that will make exploring not only fun, but worth it. How do you get to these amazing islands, you might be asking? By ship, of course. In Critter Cove, you have your very own ship that you own, captain, and live out of. We've already seen the cabin, which can be expanded over time to include multiple rooms, each of which can be decorated to your heart's content. You can also upgrade the ship as you progress through the game with things like engine upgrades to improve the ship's speed or rudder upgrades to decrease the turn radius. All of these mechanics are still very much a work in progress, but you might even be able to buy different ships that have increasingly better maximum stats. And of course, you will be able to customize your ship's appearance, such as putting your ship's name on the side of the hull, adding custom flags to the mast, and much more. You will also be able to recruit some of the critters to join your crew for when you go out exploring. They'll load up, sail to your destination with you, and then make landfall, helping you gather resources at your destination. Oh, and can I just say that the water in this game is beautiful? Not only the water itself, but the water physics as well. They have spent so incredibly much time on the ocean, and it clearly shows. And for a game where you'll be spending so much time in and on said water, I couldn't be happier for it. And you know what else I couldn't be happier for? You taking 2 seconds to like this video? Please and thank you! Critter Cove will also have fishing and farming. These are two systems that are still very much being flushed out, so I don't have much info on them, especially with fishing. For farming, however, they're doing some really unique things. Not only will you be able to craft planter boxes to do some farming on land and be able to place them wherever the heck you feel like, but you'll also be able to craft floating planter boxes to place on the ocean's surface, as well as underwater planter boxes as well. Using different types of fertilizer and even different soil types collected from the different islands and different areas underwater will all combine to have an effect on your crops, which can then be used for crafting, cooking, and to feed yourself as well as the critters. It's all still very much a work in progress, but it's also all really cool nonetheless. A few other noteworthy features to be added include trapping, both underwater and on land, animal and pet collection / breeding, and a museum to house all of your collections. The sheer amount of things there is to do in this game is staggering, and it's still super early in development. The last time I checked with the dev team, they estimated that the game was only about 20% content complete, meaning if you like what you see so far, it's only going to get better. With a dev team of only 3, anyone saying to themselves how ambitious of a project this is, I agree with you, 1000%. But ambitious games, when done right, can be absolute gems, even if they take a bit of time. And Critter Cove, to me, has that potential. I have absolutely no word on a timeline for this game, at least not one I feel comfortable putting out there quite yet. But if this is something you'd like to see more of or be kept up to date with, please let me know, and I will happily keep you all informed the best I can. This is one heck of a passionate dev team, and one that truly listens to their community. They're in their Discord server daily, posting updates on their progress, and have been for years, and have already implemented a slew of changes based on the feedback from myself and others with demo access. I'll link their server in the description if you want to join. The screenshots and videos posted there are reason enough to join by themselves. I hope you're excited about Critter Cove and are eager to learn more just as I am. If you are, don't forget to leave a like on the video, and please feel free to ask any questions you might have. I'm sure there's plenty I haven't covered, but I will happily do my best to get your questions answered. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name's DoctorDDub, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, as always, take care.